The fluorescent lights of the community center flickered one last time before Lucas Hayes locked the side door, the metallic click echoing through the empty parking lot like a period at the end of a very long sentence. He pulled his worn jacket tighter against the October chill, his breath forming small clouds in the night air as he walked toward his truck, already mentally calculating if he had enough gas to make it through the week without having to choose between filling the tank or buying groceries. His daughter Mia was spending the night at his mother's house, giving him the rare opportunity to work the late shift teaching a personal safety workshop at the center without worrying about bedtime stories or homework. At 7 years old, Mia was his entire world, and every decision he made revolved around making sure she had what she needed, even if that meant he went without. The parking lot was nearly empty now, just a handful of cars scattered under the dim streetlights. Lucas was halfway to his truck when he heard it, a woman's sharp intake of breath, followed by the sound of hurried footsteps. He turned to see a figure moving quickly between the rows of cars, her heels clicking rapidly against the pavement. Even from a distance, he could sense her fear in the way she kept glancing over her shoulder, in the tension visible in her shoulders. Lucas changed direction without thinking, his protective instincts kicking in the same way they did whenever Mia scraped her knee or had a nightmare. As he got closer, he could make out more details. She was dressed in an expensive-looking suit, her dark hair pulled back in a sleek ponytail, and she was fumbling with her car keys, dropping them once before managing to grab them again with shaking hands. "Excuse me, madam." Lucas called out, keeping his distance so as not to startle her further. "Are you all right?" The woman spun around, her eyes wide with alarm. In the harsh parking lot lighting, Lucas could see she was beautiful in that polished, professional way that spoke of corner offices and important meetings. She clutched her briefcase like a shield, and for a moment, Lucas thought she might bolt. "I don't mean to scare you," he said quickly, raising his hands to show he meant no harm. "I just finished locking up the community center." "You looked upset, and this parking lot is not the safest place this time of night." The woman's shoulders relaxed slightly, though her grip on the briefcase remained tight. "I thought someone was following me," she said, her voice shakier than she probably wanted it to be. "From the parking garage at my office building. I stopped here because there were lights, people still around, but now everyone is gone and I heard footsteps and I just..." She trailed off, looking embarrassed. "There is no shame in being careful," Lucas said firmly. "Where is your car?" She pointed to a sleek black sedan 3 rows over. "The BMW. I know I am probably being paranoid, but..." "Better paranoid than sorry," Lucas interrupted. "Come on, I will walk you over there. Make sure you get in safely." Elena Johnson had not expected her evening to end like this. At 32, she was the CEO of Johnson Tech Solutions, a cybersecurity firm she had built from the ground up over the past 8 years. She was used to being in control, to commanding boardrooms full of men twice her age, to making decisions that affected hundreds of employees and millions of dollars. But standing in this dim parking lot, still shaking from the adrenaline of thinking she was being followed, she felt more grateful for this stranger's kindness than she had felt for anything in a long time. As they walked toward her car, Elena studied him from the corner of her eye. He was tall and broad-shouldered, with the kind of build that came from actual physical work rather than a gym membership. His jacket had seen better days, and there was a tiredness around his eyes that spoke of long hours and heavy responsibilities. But his expression was gentle, concerned without being invasive, and something about his steady presence made her feel safer than she had all evening. "I appreciate this," Elena said as they reached her car. "I know I must seem ridiculous, a grown woman afraid of shadows." "You do not seem ridiculous at all," Lucas replied. His voice was deep and warm, the kind of voice that would be perfect for reading bedtime stories. The random thought made Elena blink in surprise. A woman alone in a parking lot at night has every reason to be cautious. "Actually, I taught a self-defense class tonight at the center. We covered exactly this kind of scenario. You teach self-defense. Elena unlocked her car, the lights flashing as the locks disengaged, among other things. I work maintenance at the center mostly, but I have my certification for teaching basic personal safety. Learned it in the military, and it feels good to pass it on. Lucas stepped back, giving her space to get into her car. You get home safe now. Elena hesitated, her hand on the car door. There was something about this man, this stranger who had appeared just when she needed someone, that made her not want to drive away just yet. "What is your name?" "Lucas Hayes," he said, a small smile crossing his face. It transformed his entire appearance, chasing away some of that tiredness and revealing the handsome man underneath. "Elena Johnson," she replied, extending her hand. His handshake was firm but gentle, his palms slightly rough with calluses. "Thank you, Lucas. Really. I do not know what I would have done if you had not been here. You would have gotten in your car and driven home, just like you are about to do," Lucas said simply. "But I am glad I could help ease your mind. Maybe I will see you around sometime." It was a throwaway comment, the kind of thing people say when they are being polite, with no real expectation of it coming true. But as Elena drove home to her empty penthouse apartment, she found herself hoping it would be true. There had been something solid and real about Lucas Hayes, something refreshingly genuine in a world where Elena spent most of her time dealing with people who wanted something from her. 3 days later, Elena found herself pulling into the community center parking lot at 7 in the evening, feeling slightly ridiculous but unable to talk herself out of it. She had looked up the center's schedule online and discovered that Lucas taught his personal safety workshop every Tuesday and Friday evening. She told herself she was here for the class, that learning self-defense was a practical decision for a woman in her position. She absolutely was not here hoping to see a kind stranger with tired eyes and a warm smile again. The community center was a far cry from the sleek, modern office building where Elena spent her days. The linoleum floors were scuffed, the walls needed a fresh coat of paint, and everything had that particular smell of old buildings and well-used gymnasiums. But there was also something welcoming about it, a sense of community and purpose that was lacking in the sterile professionalism of her corporate world. Elena followed the signs to the multipurpose room, where she found about a dozen people gathered in workout clothes, chatting casually. She was overdressed in her business casual slacks and blouse, having come straight from the office, and she felt suddenly self-conscious. But before she could reconsider and leave, a familiar voice called out, "Elena." She turned to find Lucas standing in the doorway, wearing track pants and a fitted t-shirt that showed off his athletic build. His expression was surprised but pleased, and Elena felt her heart do an unexpected little flip. "Hi," she said, feeling uncharacteristically shy. "I thought I would take you up on that self-defense class. After the other night, I realized I should probably know more than just how to run away in heels." Lucas's smile widened. "Well, you are in the right place. Welcome to basic personal safety. Grab a mat and we will get started in a few minutes." The class was nothing like Elena expected. Lucas was an excellent teacher, patient and clear in his instructions, making sure everyone understood the moves before progressing. He taught them awareness techniques, how to identify potential threats, basic escape moves. He was professional and friendly with everyone, but Elena could not help noticing the way his eyes seemed to find her more often than the others, the way he was always nearby when she needed help adjusting her stance or perfecting a move. When the class ended an hour and a half later, Elena was sweaty. Her hair had fallen out of its neat bun, and her muscles ached in places she had not known she had muscles. She also felt more empowered than she had in years. "That was amazing," she told Lucas as she rolled up her borrowed mat. "I cannot believe I have never done anything like this before." "You are a natural," Lucas said, and he sounded like he meant it. "Good instincts, quick learner. You should come back Friday. We will build on what you learned tonight." "I will," Elena said before she could second-guess herself. Same time. Same time. Lucas paused, then seemed to make a decision. Listen, there is a coffee shop around the corner that stays open late. Would you want to grab a cup? I promise I am not some creep, I would like to get to know you better. Elena's professional brain, the part that was always calculating risks and rewards, told her this was complicated. She was a CEO, he was a maintenance worker at a community center. They came from completely different worlds. Getting involved would be messy and probably inadvisable. But the part of her that had been lonely for far too long, the part that had felt safe and seen when Lucas walked her to her car, spoke louder. I would like that. The coffee shop was one of those local places that big chains had not managed to put out of business yet, with mismatched furniture and local art on the walls. Lucas insisted on buying Elena's coffee, despite her protests, and they settled into a corner booth with steaming mugs and the comfortable anonymity of being just two more customers on a Tuesday night. So, Lucas said, wrapping his hands around his mug. What does Elena Johnson do when she is not learning how to break someone's grip? Elena hesitated. She had learned the hard way that mentioning her position as CEO often changed how people treated her. Men either became intimidated or overly aggressive, trying to prove they were not intimidated. Women sometimes became competitive or distant. She was tired of watching people's faces change when they learned who she was. I work in technology, she said, which was not a lie. Cybersecurity specifically. What about you? You mentioned the military. Marines did 8 years before I got out, Lucas said. Came back home and I have been working at the center ever since. It does not pay much, but it is good work. I like helping people, being part of the community. He paused, his expression becoming softer. And it gives me flexibility with my schedule, which is important because I have a daughter. Mia, she is 7. You have a daughter, Elena said, surprised by how the information made her feel, not put off as she might have expected, but curious, interested. That must be wonderful. She is everything, Lucas said simply, and the love in his voice was unmistakable. Her mom and I split up when Mia was 2. Sarah could not handle being a parent, said it was not what she wanted after all. She signed over full custody and moved to California. We have not heard from her in 4 years. I am sorry, Elena said softly. Lucas shrugged, but she could see the old hurt in his eyes. It was hard at first, but honestly, Mia is better off without someone in her life who does not want to be there. We do okay, just the 2 of us. She is smart, funny kind. Sometimes I look at her and wonder how I got so lucky. You sound like an amazing father, Elena said, meaning it. I try. Some days are harder than others. Money is tight, and I worry about what happens when she gets older and needs more than I can give her. But we have each other, and we have love, and that counts for a lot. Lucas took a sip of his coffee, then turned the conversation back to her. What about you? Do you have family around here? My parents are both gone, Elena said. Dad died when I was in college, Mom, a few years after that. No siblings. I have built a good life for myself, but sometimes it is a lonely one. They talked for 2 hours, until the coffee shop employees started pointedly cleaning around them. Elena learned that Lucas could quote The Princess Bride from memory, that he volunteered at a soup kitchen every Sunday, that his daughter was obsessed with dinosaurs and wanted to be a paleontologist when she grew up. Lucas learned that Elena had started her company in her garage with nothing but a laptop and determination, that she secretly loved trashy reality TV shows, that she had not been on a real vacation in 3 years. When they finally left, Lucas walked Elena to her car again, and this time it was not about fear or safety. It was about prolonging the evening just a little bit longer, savoring these last few moments together. I really enjoyed tonight, Lucas said, as Elena unlocked her car. Me too, Elena replied. I will see you Friday. For the class. Friday, Lucas confirmed. Then, with what looked like a burst of courage, he added, and maybe coffee after again. Elena's smile felt like sunshine. I would love that. She drove home feeling lighter than she had in years. And if she spent the next hour researching everything she could find about proper self-defense techniques, instead of reviewing the quarterly reports waiting in her briefcase, well, that was nobody's business but her own. Friday's class was even better than Tuesday's. Elena had practiced the moves at home, earning strange looks from her assistant when she had asked about buying a proper training mat for her apartment. Lucas praised her improvement, and when he demonstrated a technique with her as his partner, she was hyper-aware of everywhere their bodies touched, the gentle pressure of his hands guiding her into the correct position. Coffee after class became a regular thing. Then coffee turned into dinner at a small Italian restaurant Lucas knew. Dinner led to a Sunday afternoon at the park, where Lucas brought Mia, and Elena met the little girl who had inherited her father's warm smile and had opinions about every dinosaur species that had ever existed. Did you know that velociraptors were actually really small? Mia informed Elena seriously as they sat on a park bench watching Lucas push another little girl on the swings. Like, turkey-sized, movies made them way too big, and they probably had feathers. I did not know that, Elena said, charmed by the girl's enthusiasm. You really know a lot about dinosaurs. They are the coolest, Mia said matter-of-factly. Dad says if I keep studying hard, maybe I can really be a scientist when I grow up. Do you think girls can be scientists? I know they can, Elena said firmly. I am a scientist in a way. I study computers and how to keep information safe. Mia's eyes widened. That is so cool. Do you fight hackers and stuff? Sometimes, Elena admitted, unable to help smiling. Mostly I try to build systems that are so good that hackers cannot get in at all. They talked for another 20 minutes, Mia asking a million questions about computers and technology with the same intensity she brought to discussing dinosaurs. When Lucas finally came back, slightly out of breath from playground duty, he found them deep in a discussion about encryption. I see you two are getting along, he said, his expression soft as he looked between them. Elena fights computer bad guys, Dad, Mia announced. She is like a superhero, but for the internet. Is that so? Lucas caught Elena's eye, and there was something in his gaze that made her breath catch. Something tender and hopeful and terrifying in the best way. As autumn deepened into winter, Elena found her carefully organized life rearranging itself around Lucas and Mia. She started leaving work earlier, something that shocked her executive team. She attended Mia's school play, sitting next to Lucas in the cramped auditorium, and cheering louder than anyone when the little girl delivered her 3 lines as tree number 2. She learned to make macaroni and cheese from scratch because it was Mia's favorite, and she discovered that she actually enjoyed cooking when it was for people she cared about rather than just fuel for another late night at the office. Lucas, for his part, seemed amazed that someone like Elena wanted to be part of his life. He was attentive and affectionate, always making sure she felt valued and appreciated. He brought her coffee on mornings when she had mentioned having early meetings. He listened when she vented about difficult clients or frustrating board members. He made her laugh with silly jokes and made her feel safe in ways that had nothing to do with self-defense techniques. They had not kissed yet, though Elena thought about it constantly. There was always a reason, always something that made the moment not quite right. Mia was there, or they were in public, or the timing was off. The tension built between them like a gathering storm, electric and inevitable. It finally happened on a Wednesday evening in December. Elena had come over to Lucas's small but tidy apartment for dinner. Mia had already eaten and was engrossed in a documentary about the Mesozoic era in her room. Lucas and Elena were in the kitchen, ostensibly cleaning up but mostly just talking and laughing, bumping into each other in the small space. You have sauce on your face, Lucas said, and before Elena could reach for a napkin, he gently wiped it away with his thumb. His hand lingered on her cheek, and suddenly they were not laughing anymore. They were just standing there, inches apart, the air between them charged with months of building attraction. Lucas, Elena whispered, and she was not even sure what she was asking for, but he seemed to understand anyway. He kissed her softly, carefully, like she was something precious. His hand cupped her face, and her arms wound around his neck, and for a moment, the entire world narrowed down to this. The warmth of his mouth on hers, the solid strength of his body, the feeling of coming home to a place she had not known she was searching for. When they finally pulled apart, both breathing hard, Lucas rested his forehead against hers. "I have wanted to do that for so long," he admitted. "Me too," Elena said. "Why did we wait?" "Because I was scared," Lucas said honestly. "Scared that you would realize I am just a guy who barely makes rent some months, who drives a truck that is held together with duct tape and prayers, who cannot give you any of the things you are used to. Scared that this is all too good to be true." Elena pulled back enough to look him in the eyes. "You are one of the best men I have ever known, Lucas Hayes. You are kind and strong and an amazing father. You make me want to be better, do better. I do not care about money or fancy things. I care about you." "I care about you too," Lucas said. "So much it terrifies me sometimes." They kissed again, longer this time, deeper, until they heard Mia's door open and sprang apart like guilty teenagers. Mia appeared in the kitchen doorway, clutching her stuffed triceratops, and if she noticed the flush on both adults' faces or the way they were standing suspiciously far apart, she did not mention it. "Can Elena read me a bedtime story?" Mia asked. "She does the voices really good." Lucas looked at Elena, a question in his eyes. This was a step, a shift into something more domestic and intimate. Bedtime stories were sacred in his house, part of the routine that held their little family together. "I would love to," Elena said softly, and the smile Lucas gave her could have powered the entire city. That night, sitting on the edge of Mia's bed reading about a magical treehouse adventure, Elena realized she was not just falling for Lucas anymore. She had fallen, completely and irrevocably, for both of them. This little family had wrapped itself around her heart, and she could not imagine her life without them in it. The holidays were approaching, and with them came complications Elena had not anticipated. Her company's annual gala was scheduled for mid-December, a black tie affair where she would be expected to give a speech, schmooze with investors, and project an image of successful, polished professionalism. In previous years, she had attended alone or brought a colleague as a platonic date. This year, she wanted Lucas by her side. "I do not know, Elena," Lucas said when she asked him. They were sitting in her apartment, a place Lucas had only been to a handful of times. It was beautiful and expensive and so different from his small two-bedroom that it might as well have been on another planet. "I do not exactly run in those circles. I would not know what to say to those people, what to do." "You would be yourself," Elena said. "That is all I need." "But Lucas, there is something I should tell you first, something I have not been entirely honest about." Lucas's expression grew wary. "What is it?" Elena took a deep breath. "When I told you I work in technology, that was true, but I was not exactly complete. I am not just an employee, Lucas. I am the CEO. The company is mine. I built it, I run it, and it is worth several $100 million. The silence that followed was deafening. Lucas stared at her, processing this information, and Elena watched his face go through a series of emotions. Surprise, realization, something that might have been hurt. "You have been lying to me this whole time." His voice was quiet, but she could hear the pain underneath. "Not lying," Elena said quickly. "Just not telling the whole truth. And I know that is not much better, but Lucas, you have to understand. When people find out who I am, what I have, it changes things. They see dollar signs instead of me. They either want something or they get intimidated. I just wanted you to get to know me, the real me, before you knew about all the rest." "I do know the real you," Lucas said. "At least I thought I did, but this feels like a pretty big thing to keep secret. What else have you not told me?" "Nothing," Elena insisted. "Everything else has been completely honest. My feelings for you, for Mia, all of that is real, the realest thing in my life right now." Lucas stood up, running his hand through his hair in frustration. "I need to think about this. I need to process." He headed for the door, then paused. I am not mad exactly. I just feel like I do not know where I fit in your world, Elena. I am a maintenance guy at a community center. You are a CEO with a penthouse apartment and a company worth millions. How is that supposed to work? I do not know, Elena admitted, her voice breaking. But I want to figure it out. Please do not give up on us. Lucas's expression softened slightly. I am not giving up. I just need some time. I will call you tomorrow, okay? After he left, Elena sat alone in her expensive apartment, surrounded by all the trappings of her success, and felt more alone than she had in years. She had been so stupid, keeping something this big from him. She had told herself it was about protecting her heart, but maybe it was also about fear. Fear that if Lucas knew the full extent of the gap between their worlds, he would walk away before she could prove that it did not matter. Lucas did call the next day, and they talked for hours. He admitted that his pride was hurt, that he felt inadequate knowing the full extent of her success. She admitted that she was scared of losing him, that she had let fear make her decisions. They were honest with each other in a way that hurt but also healed, laying everything bare and deciding together that what they had was worth fighting for. I am still not sure about the gala, Lucas said. But if it is important to you, I will be there. It is important to me, Elena confirmed, but only because I want you there. I want the people in my professional life to meet the man who has become so important to my personal life. But Lucas, if you are truly uncomfortable, I will understand. Let me think about it, he said. And Elena, thank you for being honest with me now. That matters more than you keeping the secret in the first place. 3 days before the gala, Lucas called Elena and told her he would be her date, but that he needed her help. I do not own a tuxedo, he said, embarrassed. I do not even own a suit that still fits properly, and before you offer to buy me one, I am asking if you could help me rent something appropriate. I know it is my pride talking, but I need to do this myself. I just need guidance. Elena's heart swelled with love for this man who was trying so hard to meet her in the middle, to be part of her world while maintaining his sense of self. I know a place that does excellent rentals, she said, and I promise just guidance, nothing more. The night of the gala, Lucas picked Elena up in his old truck, which he had washed and vacuumed for the occasion. He looked incredible in his rented tuxedo, his broad shoulders filling out the jacket perfectly, his hair freshly cut. But more than that, he looked confident, ready to face whatever the evening brought. You are stunning, he said when Elena opened the door in a floor-length emerald gown that matched her eyes. You are not so bad yourself, she replied, adjusting his bow tie even though it was already perfect. Are you ready for this? Probably not, Lucas admitted, but I am ready to stand by your side while you do your thing. That is what matters. The gala was held at the city's most prestigious hotel, all chandeliers and marble floors and people dripping with jewelry and expensive designer labels. Lucas stayed close to Elena, and she made sure to introduce him to everyone they encountered as Lucas Hayes, the man who has stolen my heart. She watched people try to place him, saw the moment they realized he was not a fellow CEO or tech mogul or venture capitalist, saw some of them struggle with how to treat him. But Lucas handled it all with grace and quiet dignity. He was polite and friendly without being obsequious. He asked intelligent questions and listened with genuine interest when people talked. He made Elena laugh during a particularly boring conversation with a pompous investor, and he held her close when they danced, unbothered by the curious stares of people wondering who this man was that had captured their CEO's attention. When Elena gave her speech, thanking her team and outlining the company's vision for the coming year, she deviated from her prepared remarks at the end. This year has been one of tremendous growth for the company, she said, but it has also been a year of personal growth for me. I have been reminded that success is not just measured in profits and market share, but in the relationships we build and the people we allow into our lives. I have been lucky enough to find someone who sees me, not as a CEO or a business leader, but as Elena. Someone who reminds me every day that kindness, integrity, and love are worth more than any bottom line. So here is to another successful year in business and to the personal successes that make it all worthwhile." The room applauded politely, but Elena was only looking at Lucas, who had tears in his eyes and a smile on his face that told her everything she needed to know. On the way home, still dressed in their formal wear, Lucas pulled into the parking lot of the community center. "Come with me," he said. "I want to show you something." He led her inside the dark building, using his keys to unlock the doors, and took her to the multipurpose room where they had first met for that self-defense class months ago. The room was empty now, quiet and still, lit only by the streetlights coming through the windows. "This is where I realized I was falling for you," Lucas said, pulling Elena into his arms. "Watching you learn those moves, seeing how determined you were, how you never gave up even when something was difficult. You were this incredible woman who could have been anywhere, done anything, but you were here, in this rundown community center, learning how to protect yourself." "I was here because of you," Elena said softly. "I came back to that first class because I wanted to see you again. Everything else was just an excuse." "I am glad you did," Lucas said. "Because you have changed my life, Elena. You have shown me that it is okay to want more, to hope for more. You have been amazing with Mia, and you have made me believe that maybe I deserve something good after all the hard years." "You deserve everything good," Elena said fiercely. "You and Mia both, and if you will let me, I want to be part of your lives. Really part of it, not just someone on the periphery. I want family dinners and bedtime stories and lazy Sunday mornings. I want all of it." "I want that too," Lucas said. "But Elena, I need you to understand something. I am never going to be rich. I like my job at the center, and I am good at it, but it is not a path to wealth. I can probably provide better for Mia as she gets older, maybe even save up for college, but I cannot give you the lifestyle you are used to." "I do not need you to give me anything," Elena said. "I have money, Lucas. More than I could spend in 10 lifetimes. What I need is someone who loves me for me, who makes me laugh, who challenges me to be better. I need you." Lucas kissed her then, slow and deep, a promise and a beginning all at once. They danced in the empty room, Elena's expensive gown whispering against the floor, Lucas holding her like she was the most precious thing in the world. There was no music except the sound of their breathing and the beating of their hearts, but it was perfect. Christmas came, and Elena spent it with Lucas and Mia in their small apartment. She had bought Mia a professional-grade telescope for stargazing and dinosaur watching, and had donated a substantial amount to the community center in Lucas's name. For Lucas, she had gotten a new leather jacket to replace his worn-out one, and a framed photo of the three of them from Thanksgiving, when they had volunteered together at the soup kitchen. Lucas gave Elena a hand-carved wooden box that he had made himself in the center's workshop. "For keeping important things safe," he said. Inside was a simple silver necklace with a small pendant in the shape of a house. "Because you have given us a sense of home in a way I did not expect." Elena cried, which made Mia cry in sympathy, which made Lucas pull them both into a hug, and they spent the rest of the morning tangled together on the couch, watching Christmas movies and eating too many cookies. The new year brought new challenges and new joys. Elena started working fewer hours, delegating more to her capable team, and learning that the company would not fall apart if she was not there every waking moment. Lucas enrolled in online business courses, not because Elena asked him to, but because he wanted to better understand her world and maybe, eventually, move into a management role at the center. Mia thrived with the additional attention and stability. Her grades improved, her confidence grew, and she adored Elena with the kind of uncomplicated affection that children give to people who truly care about them. She started calling Elena Lena, a nickname that stuck and made Elena's heart squeeze every time she heard it. In March, 9 months after that first night in the parking lot, Lucas asked Elena to move in with them. "I know your apartment is nicer," he said nervously, "and bigger, but this is home, and I want you to be part of it officially. We can look for a bigger place eventually, somewhere with enough room for all of us, but for now, I just want you here." "Yes," Elena said without hesitation. "Absolutely yes." They told Mia together, and the little girl's reaction was everything they could have hoped for. "Does this mean Lena is staying forever?" she asked, her eyes wide with hope. "If she will have us," Lucas confirmed. "Forever sounds perfect," Elena said, and she meant it with every fiber of her being. The logistics of combining their lives were complicated. Elena had to decide what to do with her penthouse, eventually choosing to keep it as a crash pad for late work nights and to loan out to visiting employees. Most of her belongings were sold or donated, and she moved into Lucas and Mia's apartment with just the things that mattered. Her clothes, her books, the photo albums of her parents, the carved wooden box Lucas had given her for Christmas. The apartment was cramped with 3 people, but Elena had never been happier. She loved waking up to the sound of Mia's laughter and Lucas making breakfast. She loved the organized chaos of getting a 7-year-old ready for school in the morning. She loved collapsing on the couch after a long day and having Lucas pull her close while Mia told them about everything she had learned. In May, Lucas got a promotion at the community center. He was now the assistant director, with a significant raise and more responsibilities. He was nervous about the change, but Elena helped him prepare for meetings and presentations, and he quickly proved he was more than capable of the role. "I never thought I would have a career I was proud of," he told Elena one night after Mia had gone to bed. "I thought I would just be getting by forever, doing enough to keep food on the table and a roof over our heads. But you believed in me, and it made me believe in myself." "You always had it in you," Elena said. "I just helped you see it." By summer, they had saved enough for a down payment on a small house in a good neighborhood with excellent schools. It was not fancy, but it had a yard for Mia to play in, 3 bedrooms so they would not be cramped anymore, and a garage where Lucas could set up a proper workshop. Elena contributed more to the down payment than Lucas, but they agreed to split the monthly mortgage evenly, both of them wanting it to feel like their home together. Moving day was hectic and exhausting and wonderful. Mia ran through the empty house claiming her room and planning where all her dinosaur posters would go. Lucas and Elena worked side by side carrying boxes, assembling furniture, turning 4 walls into a home. That night, they ordered pizza and ate it sitting on the floor of their new living room, tired and happy and full of hope for the future. "I have something to ask you," Lucas said, after Mia had fallen asleep in her new bedroom, exhausted from the excitement of the day. His voice was nervous, and when Elena turned to look at him, she found him kneeling on the floor, holding a small velvet box. "Elena Johnson, you walked into my life when I needed you most, even though neither of us knew it at the time. You have shown me what it means to be truly loved, truly seen. You have loved my daughter like she is your own, and you have made me want to be the best version of myself. I know I do not have much to offer except my whole heart, but if you will have it, I promise to spend the rest of my life making you as happy as you have made me. Will you marry me?" Through her tears, Elena could see that the ring was simple and beautiful, a single diamond on a platinum band. It probably represented months of saving for Lucas, a sacrifice that made it more precious than any of the expensive jewelry she owned. "Yes," she said, her voice breaking with emotion. "Yes, 1,000 times yes." He slipped the ring on her finger, and they kissed with the kind of joy that comes from knowing you have found your person, the one you want to wake up next to for the rest of your life. They made love in their new house for the first time, slow and tender, a celebration of everything they had built and everything they were going to build together. In the morning, they told Mia, who screamed with excitement and insisted on calling everyone she knew to share the news. "Lena is going to be my real mom," she told Lucas's mother on the phone. "Well, my bonus mom. Dad says Elena will be my bonus mom, which means I am extra lucky." The wedding was planned for October, 1 year after that fateful night in the parking lot. Elena wanted to get married at the community center, in the multipurpose room where they had first really gotten to know each other. Lucas tried to talk her out of it, saying she deserved somewhere nicer, but Elena was insistent. "That place represents everything good about you," she said. "Your commitment to community, your desire to help people, your humility and kindness. I cannot think of anywhere more perfect." So the multipurpose room was transformed with flowers and lights, with chairs borrowed from the local church and decorations made by the kids from the after-school program. It was not the fancy wedding that many of Elena's business associates expected, but it was beautiful and meaningful and absolutely perfect. Mia was the flower girl, taking her job very seriously as she walked down the aisle scattering rose petals. Lucas's mother cried happy tears in the front row. Elena's executive team sat alongside people from the community center and the soup kitchen, an unlikely mix of corporate suits and casual where that somehow felt right. When Elena walked down the aisle, she was not given away by anyone. She had made this choice herself, was walking toward her future under her own power. Lucas waited for her at the makeshift altar, looking more handsome than she had ever seen him in his tuxedo, his eyes shining with love and wonder. The vows they exchanged were personal and heartfelt, written by them and speaking to their unique journey. Lucas promised to always be honest with her, to support her dreams, to love her on her worst days as much as her best. Elena promised to always see him as her equal, to appreciate the things that made him who he was, to be a partner to him and a mother to Mia in all the ways that mattered. "You are my hero," Elena said, her voice thick with emotion. "Not because you saved me that night in the parking lot, although you did, but because you save me every day by being exactly who you are. You make me want to be better, do better, love better. You and Mia have given me the family I always wanted but thought I would never have." There was not a dry eye in the room when they were pronounced husband and wife. Their kiss was met with cheers and applause, and as they walked back down the aisle hand in hand, Elena felt a sense of completeness she had never experienced before. The reception was held in the same room, with catered food that Elena had insisted on paying for, and music provided by a DJ who volunteered at the center. Lucas surprised Elena by having learned to waltz for their first dance, and she surprised him by having arranged for his favorite band to send a video message congratulating them. Mia gave a speech that she had written herself, reading carefully from a piece of paper covered in her neat handwriting. "I used to think families were just the people you were born with," she said. "But Dad taught me that family is about love, and Lena taught me that you can choose your family. I did not get to choose my dad, but I am really glad he is my dad. And I did get to choose Lena, and I choose her every single day. I love you both so much." By the time the reception ended, and they were driving to the hotel where they would spend their wedding night before flying out for a honeymoon in Hawaii, Elena felt drunk on happiness. Lucas held her hand the entire drive, occasionally bringing it to his lips to kiss her knuckles. "Have I told you today that you are the most beautiful woman I have ever seen?" he asked. "Only about 100 times," Elena replied, smiling, "but feel free to keep going." "You are also the smartest, funniest, kindest woman I have ever known," Lucas continued, "and I cannot believe I get to call you my wife." "I cannot believe I get to call you my husband," Elena said. "When I walked into that parking lot a year ago, scared and alone, I never imagined it would lead to this. To you, to Mia, to a whole new life." "I am glad you were scared that night," Lucas said, "and I am glad I was there. It was the luckiest moment of my life, even if I did not know it then." The honeymoon in Hawaii was a blur of sunshine and ocean waves, of lazy mornings in bed and adventurous afternoons exploring the islands. They snorkeled and hiked, ate fresh pineapple, and watched breathtaking sunsets. They made love and talked for hours, and simply enjoyed being together without the responsibilities of work or parenting. But as wonderful as it was, they both missed Mia. They called her every night, listening to her chatter about what she had done with her grandmother that day, What new dinosaur facts she had learned, how much she missed them. On their last night in Hawaii, lying in bed watching the moon reflected on the ocean, Lucas and Elena talked about the future. "I want more kids," Lucas said. "Not right away, but eventually. I want Mia to have siblings, to be part of a bigger family. Is that something you want?" "I do," Elena said, surprised by how much she meant it. A year ago, children had not been part of her life plan. Now she could not imagine a future without them. "At least one more, maybe two. I want our house to be full of laughter and chaos and love." "It already is," Lucas said, pulling her close. "But I am not opposed to more of it." When they returned home, Mia greeted them at the airport with a sign she had made that read, "Welcome home, Mom and Dad." And Elena cried happy tears at seeing "Mom" written in Mia's careful handwriting. The little girl had started calling her mom occasionally, always watching Elena's reaction to make sure it was okay. Elena had assured her it was more than okay, it was everything. The first year of marriage brought adjustments and challenges, but also so much joy. Elena found a better balance between her professional and personal lives, making sure she was home for dinner most nights and present for the important moments. Lucas thrived in his new role at the community center, implementing programs that made a real difference in their neighborhood. Mia excelled in school and made friends easily, her confidence and kindness making her a favorite among her classmates and teachers. She still loved dinosaurs, but had also developed an interest in space, and Elena and Lucas spent many evenings in the backyard with the telescope, pointing out constellations and planets. In their second year of marriage, Elena discovered she was pregnant. She took 3 tests to be sure, then planned an elaborate surprise to tell Lucas and Mia. She bought a book about becoming a big sister and wrapped it as a present for Mia, letting the little girl open it at dinner one night. Mia's eyes widened as she looked at the book, then at Elena, then at Lucas. "Does this mean what I think it means?" she asked, her voice filled with hope and excitement. "It means you are going to be a big sister," Elena confirmed, her hand on her still flat stomach. Mia screamed with joy and ran to hug Elena, careful not to squeeze too hard. Lucas sat stunned for a moment, then got up and pulled both his girls into his arms, tears streaming down his face. "We are having a baby," he said, wonder in his voice. "We are really having a baby." The pregnancy was not easy. Elena dealt with severe morning sickness and fatigue, and she had to cut back even more on her work hours. Lucas was endlessly patient and supportive, rubbing her feet when they were swollen, bringing her ginger tea for the nausea, taking over all the household chores she was too tired to manage. Mia was the most excited person Elena had ever seen. She read every book about babies she could find at the library. She helped set up the nursery, carefully arranging the stuffed animals and books. She talked to Elena's growing belly, telling the baby about dinosaurs and stars and how much she already loved them. "I am going to be the best big sister ever," Mia declared. "I am going to teach the baby everything I know." "I have no doubt," Elena said, stroking Mia's hair as they sat together on the couch. At 9 years old, Mia was getting too big to really curl up in Elena's lap anymore, but she still liked to sit close, especially when talking about the baby. The baby, a boy they named Leo, was born in early spring. Labor was long and difficult, but when Lucas placed their son in Elena's arms for the first time, every moment of discomfort was forgotten. He was perfect, with a dusting of dark hair and eyes that would eventually turn the same brown as his father's. Mia visited the hospital as soon as she was allowed, bringing a drawing she had made for her little brother. She stood by the bed, staring at Leo with a mixture of awe and love that made both Lucas and Elena tear up. "He is so small," Mia whispered. "Can I hold him?" With careful supervision, they showed Mia how to support Leo's head, and she held her baby brother with the kind of gentle care that spoke to the amazing young person she was becoming. "Hi, Leo," she said softly. "I am your big sister, Mia. I am going to take really good care of you and teach you all the cool stuff. You are going to love it here. We have the best family." She was right. They did have the best family, and as Elena watched Lucas guide Mia through holding the baby, as she felt the exhaustion and joy of new motherhood, she marveled at how her life had transformed. 2 years ago, she had been alone, successful but lonely, missing something she could not name. Now she had everything. A husband who loved her completely, a daughter who had embraced her as a mother, a newborn son, and a future filled with endless possibilities. The early months with a newborn were challenging. Elena took maternity leave for the first time in her career, and Lucas adjusted his schedule to be home more. They worked as a team, splitting night feedings and diaper changes, supporting each other through the sleep deprivation and stress. Mia helped where she could, fetching diapers and singing to Leo when he cried, proving to be just as good a big sister as she had promised. Elena's company thrived even without her constant presence, a testament to the team she had built and the systems she had put in place. She realized she did not need to be indispensable at work to be successful. She could trust others and focus on being present for her family. When Leo was 6 months old, Elena made a decision that surprised everyone, including herself. She stepped back from day-to-day operations at her company, moving into a chairman role that gave her more flexibility and time with her family. She hired a CEO she trusted to run things, staying involved in major decisions, but no longer working the punishing hours that had defined her earlier career. "Are you sure about this?" Lucas asked when she told him. "I know how much that company means to you." "It does mean a lot to me," Elena confirmed. "But you and Mia and Leo mean more. I built that company to prove I could, to create something lasting. But the legacy I am most proud of is this family. That is what I want to invest my time in now." Lucas kissed her softly. "You are amazing, you know that?" "I am just figuring out what really matters," Elena said. "And you showed me that. You have been putting family first since the day Mia was born. I am just following your example." Life settled into a new rhythm. Elena worked from home most days, attending important meetings but otherwise being available for her family. Lucas continued to grow in his career, eventually becoming the director of the community center when his boss retired. They had a third child, a daughter they named Lily, when Mia was 11 and Leo was 2. Mia, now in middle school, was an incredible help with her younger siblings. She had grown into a thoughtful, intelligent young woman who still loved dinosaurs, but also excelled in math and science. She talked about going to college to study paleontology or maybe astrophysics, and both Elena and Lucas encouraged her dreams, knowing they would do everything in their power to help her achieve them. The community center thrived under Lucas's leadership. He implemented new programs for at-risk youth, expanded the meal services for people experiencing homelessness, and created partnerships with local businesses to provide job training. Elena's company became a major donor, and she often volunteered alongside Lucas, their shared commitment to giving back bringing them even closer together. On their 5th wedding anniversary, they returned to the parking lot where they had first met. It was late at night, just like it had been that October evening so long ago. They stood under the same streetlights, and Lucas pulled Elena close. "If you could go back and tell that scared woman in the parking lot what her life would look like 5 years later, what would you say?" Lucas asked. Elena thought about it, remembering the person she had been. Successful but lonely, guarded, afraid to let anyone too close. "I would tell her that she is about to meet someone who will change everything, that she should let him in, trust him, take the risk. I would tell her that the best parts of life are not about what you achieve, but about who you love and who loves you back. I would tell her to hold on, because happiness is coming, and it is more than she ever imagined." "What would you tell the guy locking up the community center that night?" Elena asked. "I would tell him that the woman he is about to help is going to be his future, that she is going to love him and his daughter in ways that heal old wounds and create new joys. I would tell him he is about to become the luckiest man alive." Lucas kissed her forehead, her cheeks, her lips. "I would tell him that walking her to her car is going to be the most important thing he ever does. They stood there for a long time, holding each other under the stars. Two people from different worlds who had found their way to each other and built something beautiful. A security guard eventually came by, checking to make sure everything was okay, and they laughed at being questioned in a parking lot on their anniversary. "Everything is perfect," Elena told the concerned guard. "We are just revisiting where we met." The guard smiled, recognizing them from their volunteer work. "Well, congratulations on your anniversary. This neighborhood is lucky to have people like you." As they drove home to their 3 sleeping children and the life they had built together, Elena reflected on the journey that had brought them here. It had started with fear and kindness, with a man who saw a stranger in need and did not hesitate to help. It had grown into friendship, then love, then a partnership that had weathered challenges and celebrated victories. Lucas was her hero, but not because he had walked her to her car that night or because he had made her feel safe. He was her hero because he showed up every day with integrity and kindness, because he loved fiercely and honestly, because he had welcomed her into his family and helped her build a life beyond anything she had imagined. And she was his hero too, he often told her. She had believed in him when he did not believe in himself, had shown him that his past struggles did not define his future potential, had loved his daughter and given him more children, and created a home filled with laughter and warmth. They were each other's heroes, each other's safe place, each other's greatest adventure. And as they pulled into their driveway, the porch light shining like a beacon welcoming them home, Elena knew that this was what happily ever after really looked like. Not perfection, but partnership. Not ease, but effort. Not a fairy tale, but something better. A real love story with real people choosing each other every single day. Inside, the babysitter reported that all 3 kids had been angels, falling asleep without any fuss. After paying her and seeing her safely to her car, continuing the tradition of making sure people were protected, Lucas and Elena checked on each of their children. Mia was sprawled across her bed, surrounded by textbooks and notes from her advanced science class. Elena gently removed the books and covered her stepdaughter with a blanket, kissing her forehead. "Sleep well, sweetheart," she whispered. Leo was curled up with his favorite stuffed dinosaur, a gift from his big sister. Lucas adjusted his blanket and stood watching him for a moment, marveling at how fast he was growing. Lily, their youngest at just 18 months old, was sleeping peacefully in her crib, her thumb in her mouth. Elena felt her heart squeeze with love looking at this little person she and Lucas had created together. Finally, they made their way to their own bedroom, the house quiet around them. As they got ready for bed, moving around each other with the practiced ease of years together, Lucas caught Elena's hand. "Thank you," he said simply. "For what?" Elena asked. "For being scared that night in the parking lot, for coming back to my class. For taking a chance on a single dad with more heart than money, for building this life with me, for everything. Thank you for being the kind of man who helps a stranger without expecting anything in return," Elena replied. "For opening your heart to me, for letting me be a mother to Mia. For giving me Leo and Lily. For showing me what love really looks like." They climbed into bed, Elena curling into Lucas's side, his arm around her shoulders. It was not the fancy life people might have expected for a successful CEO. It was better. It was real and full and more precious than all the money or success in the world. "I love you," Lucas murmured, already half asleep. "I love you too," Elena whispered back. "Forever." And as she drifted off to sleep in the arms of her husband, in the home they had made together, surrounded by their children and the life they had built, Elena knew that she was exactly where she was meant to be. The scared woman in the parking lot had found her hero, and together they had created something neither of them could have achieved alone. A family, a partnership, a love story for the ages. Years would pass, and their children would grow. Mia would go to college and eventually become a paleontologist, making discoveries that would bear her name in scientific journals. Leo would follow in his father's footsteps, working in community service and making a difference in countless lives. Lily would surprise them all by becoming an artist, creating beauty that moved people to tears. Lucas and Elena would grow old together, their hair turning gray, their faces marking the passage of time. But their love would never fade. They would still hold hands, still dance in empty rooms, still look at each other with the same wonder they felt on that first night in a parking lot when their paths crossed and changed both their lives forever. The community center would eventually be renamed the Hayes Community Center in honor of Lucas's decades of service. And Elena's company would continue to thrive, becoming a leader not just in cybersecurity, but in corporate social responsibility. But more than any professional achievement or recognition, more than any amount of money or success, what mattered most was the love they shared and the family they had built. That was their greatest accomplishment, their truest legacy. And it all started because a poor dad walked a scared woman to her car late at night, and in doing so, became her hero and the love of her life. Two strangers from different worlds, brought together by chance and held together by choice, proving that the best love stories are not about finding someone perfect, but about finding someone perfect for you. Their story was not without struggles. There were hard days and difficult conversations, moments of doubt and times of stress. Money was sometimes tight despite Elena's wealth, because they chose to live within Lucas's means and donate generously to causes they believed in. They argued about parenting decisions and work-life balance, about how to handle extended family and where to take vacations. But through it all, they chose each other. They communicated, they compromised, they loved each other fiercely and faithfully. They built a marriage based on respect and trust, on shared values and mutual support. They created a family that was stronger than the sum of its parts. As Elena fell asleep that anniversary night, her last thought was one of gratitude. Gratitude for the fear that had sent her to that parking lot, for the kindness that had made Lucas approach her, for every choice and chance that had led them to this moment. She had been a CEO falling for her hero, and she had fallen completely, wholly, eternally. And Lucas, holding his wife close, felt the same gratitude. He had been a poor dad just trying to make it through another day, and he had found not just love but a partner who made him better, stronger, more than he ever thought he could be. He had walked a scared woman to her car, and she had walked into his heart and never left. Together, they had created their happily ever after, not in spite of their differences, but because of them. They had proven that love does not care about bank accounts or social status, that what matters is how you treat each other, how you show up, how you choose love every single day. And so they slept. Two people who had found each other against all odds, who had built a beautiful life together, who would wake up tomorrow and choose each other all over again. Because that is what real love is, not a feeling that fades, but a choice that endures. Not a fairy tale ending, but a real life beginning. Not perfect, but perfectly right. Their love story was complete, but their life together was still being written, one day at a time, one choice at a time, one moment of choosing each other over and over again. And that was the most romantic thing of all.